Guys, there's a big legacy of giant robot games on PC, and I'm here checking out Phantom Brigade with Chad. Chad, really excited about this. Hints of XCOM. Tell me what Phantom Brigade is all about.
Yeah, well, in many ways, it's a spiritual successor to games like Front Mission and Armored Core that I used to play that they don't really exist anymore. So trying to bring that back both on PC and consoles.
They definitely don't. So let's dive in and see what it's all about.
Yeah, sure. So this is actually the base of operations. We have a full campaign, and you can see you can customize all your mechs, and even your pilots will be customizable. You can name them yourself as well. So you can really get like super detailed here. You can change all the material, the camo. Like we went with an Armored Core level of customization here. You can even modify the internals like the reactors and stuff. So that's going to be a big part of the gameplay, is actually capturing enemy mechs in the field and then using their parts to customize your own.
Do you guys use a chassis system where you sort of have families of mechs that you then modify, or is it fully kind of Legoing together different pieces?
So in the lore of the world, they have like a unified frame that they use, and then all of these manufacturers make parts. So they all have different personalities and lore attached to them that really kind of change how they play. So let me go ahead and load up one of these maps here. I guess I'll just show you this one, which is a logistics center. So this is a larger map and in a rail yard. So there we go. Each one of these mechs has kind of a different role. That guy's got a rocket launcher, really long range, snipers. We have shotgun mechs. We don't have all the weapons in, but we're going to have things like riot shields and pile drivers. And like if you have a mech weapon fantasy, we're probably going to have it in there.
I've got plenty of those. I think one of them is the shield on one arm,
oh, yeah.
grenade launchers.
Oh, yes. Yes, we're going to be doing that. We have really good damage systems as well. So the entire world is fully destroyable, like all the props, all the environments and everything. So I'm just going to run this guy in there real quick and go shoot somebody in the face. And you can see the narrative is actually playing out here. The pilots talk to each other. They form relationships over time. They'll remember everything that you do to them. We have something kind of like a nemesis system where these pilots will remember the actions that have happened against them if you've killed their squad members and things like that. All right, so he's going to come in here. He's taking some pot shots. You can actually see the damage where the rounds have passed through and the paint's getting ripped off. We're going to have a dynamic camera system. It's not quite in yet, but it's going to be very cinematic when you're playing. So this guy's got a rocket launcher. So I'm going to show you building damage works. I'm just going to shoot this building here with the rocket launcher so you can see everything in the environment's destroyable, and that actually affects combat. You're going to be able to blow down the buildings, create new areas to attack from.
I'm really a fan of this UI. I think it's really clean.
Thank you.
You talked about how you wanted this to be accessible to anybody who hasn't played this style of game before.
Yeah, so it's got a lot of inspiration from tabletop games. Like I used to play Warhammer and BattleTech, but there's a lot of like looking things up in damage tables and stuff that's really complicated. And we wanted to make it to where you can see everything that's going on. Like when the rounds hit, they roll on internal damage tables. You'll see you've like blown out their sensors or damaged their internal magazine, but you don't have to worry about doing those calculations. You can just kind of enjoy the results as they happen.
So what's kind of the scale of the combat here? Is it 4-on-4, 5-on-5?
Yeah, so it's very small, very personal. It's usually going to be like 4 or 5 mechs on 4 or 5 mechs. Reinforcements can come in. You're really outnumbered here. You're sort of the underdog. So these enemies have a lot more supplies and forces than you do. And that's how you kind of progress, is actually capturing their equipment in the field.
Will I have to repair mechs that I capture as well?
Yeah, so when you get the mechs, they're going to be trashed. Usually they've seen combat. If you blow them up, the reactor will fail. And that will actually cause you to only get like scrap. If you keep the mech intact, then you get more parts from it and higher quality. So trying to keep your mechs in repair is part of the narrative. You're going to be doing things like raiding convoys and supplies to get more parts to service your mechs and stuff. So like logistics is sort of an issue that you have to keep in mind as the gameplay progresses over time.
So you mentioned to me earlier that you're working on the campaign right now. What can we expect in terms of length? Is that sort of the big focus of the game rather than multiplayer?
Yeah, so the big focus of the game is it's kind of like a story generator, right? So it's a very big sandbox campaign. Like if my pilot ejects, he might get captured after battle, and we'll actually see missions later on to go rescue him. So it's very much like keeping an eye on what happens and telling a story through your interactions. So that's more what we're going for. You might say like, okay, I need supplies, so I'm going to go raid in this place, or I need pilots because they've died, I'm going to go liberate a city, right? So every time you play the game, it's going to be very different. It's kind of like a XCOM style campaign in that sense. The combat's similar to XCOM as well, but very different in that you're not sneaking around. These are not subtle mechs, you're blowing up cities. You'll actually see as the damage progresses, it will start like raining embers of fire. It'll look like a forest fire's going on. It'll get really dark and overcast.
Terrific. So yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the pilots as you're playing here.
Yep.
You know, you mentioned that the pilots can sort of gain these traits that are positive and negative. Is that accurate as you're playing?
They're going to evolve as characters, and it's not necessarily negative, but it's something that you as a commander have to deal with. If you've got a pilot who's seen a lot of rookies die, he might become very selfless and want to like jump in front of a mech if it's about to die, which you might not want that on your sniper, but you can kind of own it and be like, all right, well, I'm going to give him a really hefty mech with like a riot shield and some counterattack skills, so he's going to like jump in there and deck the guy before he can get to the injured mech. You know, those kind of dynamic elements. So we don't really want to penalize you, but we want to give it like real narrative weight and have these characters evolve as you play, like actual RPG characters. So this guy's getting pretty trashed over here. You can see like all the parts are individually damageable. You can see his armor's gotten blown off, his subsystems are getting knocked out, and that'll affect your combat stats as well.
I see that his pelvis system has been destroyed.
Yeah, that's like the stability system, and there's motors in the arm that can control your accuracy, and your sensors can help you see. And see, that guy actually ejected from his mech because his mech's too damaged. And the thing is that more veteran mechs, more veteran pilots will not eject as easily because they know they're hardened, they know how much their mech can take, and they're not going to be as likely to bail out. These guys are all rookies, they don't know what they're doing.
Something I'm always curious about with this style of game is the kind of objective types that you're building into it.
Yeah.
Other than what I'm guessing is eliminate all the mechs, what sort of mission designs are you coming up with?
So that's one of the things that we're working on right now with the campaign is we wanted to get all these systems in place so we can kind of like find what's really fun to do. And it seems like what people have really been enjoying is blowing up the environment. So we might have situations where it's like you have enemy waves coming in and you've got to destroy a facility. So you got to like bide your time between just destroying the place with mortars and like really having fun with it and trying to fend them off. We've also seen that people seem to like, the one-on-one combat, these missions, they really enjoy that sort of stuff. So we've been having this in early closed alpha ever since we first started working on it. We have a team on Discord, and we invite people in, and they give us feedback. And we've been finding out like what they like, what's fun. Like we're very much community focused when it comes to development. We don't want like escort missions, that kind of stuff that isn't very fun in a game like this. Or timed missions. Seems people don't like the timed missions very well. We've tried that, and they don't tend to like them. Oh, there we go. So yeah, you can see it blew his arm clean off now, and he's getting really damaged. So if I continue to damage him, I can probably damage him to the point where I can blow his mech up, and then his reactor will actually cook off, and it'll do a massive amount of, oh yeah, there it goes, his reactor just failed. So it's gonna do a massive amount of damage to the area, and can actually be used as like a mobile bomb. So one of the strategies you can do is like run up a damaged mech, eject, and then have one of your pilots shoot it. You lose the mech, right? So it's like it's very powerful, but it's also a decision you need to make if you can afford losing that frame. Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, there's going to be some guys you just want to nuke, right? I mean, you're so mad at them, they killed your favorite guy.
Oh yeah. We're thinking like we've been experimenting with a skill where basically they set the reactor to fail and then they bail out, so you can just like run up to them, jump out of the mech, and let the thing detonate. But it's going to be costly. Like in the campaign, you can't just be blowing up your mechs left and right, or you're going to run out of supplies. But if you want to play like that, more power to you, right?
It does sound expensive. So, I mean, you guys are an independent developer, obviously working on this game.
Yep.
So I was surprised and delighted to hear that moddability is in the cards for this game.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that.
So modding's really close to my heart. I actually started out as a modder on Kerbal Space Program, and that's how I got started in the industry. So from there, I want to bring that same sort of like level of moddability. It's actually inspired in some ways by like Paradox, have very data-driven games. So you can create new events, new missions, new orders, new parts. Like I'm very much expecting like mods to come out for this very quickly because we wanted to make it super easy. Like even with no programming skill, you can open up a text file and make a completely different gun with like different behavior. You can change like the complete balance of the game. It's all just a system designed to run a tactical game. So you can change how the AP works, how damage works. Like it's pretty nuts. But basically the tools that we use to make the game's gameplay systems are available to you as somebody who might want to mod it.
Sounds terrific. So Phantom Brigade, Where should we go if we want to learn more about it, and when can we play it?
So we're aiming to have this out next year. We're not super keen on giving a discrete timeline for that, but probably mid next year is what we're aiming for. We want to finish the campaign, and how we do things, we want to go through play testing. When people are like, oh my gosh, this is the best game ever, that's probably when we're going to release it.
What's your website?
The website's www.tetragonworks.com. And you can get our Reddit there and our Discord if you want to join in the alpha. Just ask us for a key there and we'll get you involved.
Sounds good, Chad. Well, thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks soon.